G'day guys, Macca with the Outer Circle, and today I was inspired, we'll say, on the last video on the channel, the Second Legion, in the Getting Started in the Horus Heresy series, a person called Alexis Sims, or at least their avatar name on YouTube, asked what the restrictions are in 30k. Can they use something like a homebrew Primarch or generic Primarch as a start? That doesn't exist. Now, don't take this as a negative, but there are no rules for a generic Primarch. There's only rules for the existing Primarchs, and even then, the Emperor, Sanguinius, Khan, and the Lion don't have any rules at all. I thought, fuck, maybe there's a way we can make sort of a generic Primarch builder that maybe has a couple of special rules and some war gear, and you can kind of mix and match and make your perfect Primarch. So I went and did just that. And the results of my handiwork are as follows. Meet Unnamed Primarch. Originally, Leman Russ. Why'd I leave that there? Well, I suppose you could call it an oversight, but actually it was intentional. What I did was I used Leman Russ, the free rules that were given out by Forge World back prior to the release of Book 7. They released a sort of Leman Russ, and it was a generic version of the Primarch, basically, where instead of having his custom war gear and his unique armor, he just had like generic war gear. And I thought that makes a pretty good sort of baseline. So I've added in a couple of things, kept some of the old things, like the unit composition's the same, the unit type's the same, still has the Primarch and all the rules that accompany it. Also still has the bulky special rule. I've added in Sire of the Legion, which is a choice. Unlike other Primarchs who have just, they are this way, and that's how they'll play for your Legion, I've made it a choice, but we'll get into that later. For the war gear, it comes with Artificer, Power Armor, and Frag Grenades. So stats-wise, it's nothing crazy. Basically, I've picked pretty much the lowest stats of all the Primarchs across all the categories. So, averages of 6s. The weapon skill is moderate at weapon skill 7. I was tempted to drop it to weapon skill 6, but hey, it's going to max out at 10 anyway. Initiative 6, wound 6, attacks is only 4. Attacks is quite low, but then a lot of Primarchs do only have 3 or 4, 4 or 5 attacks as their base ones. So this is pretty generic. Basically, you're looking at a Praetor type build, where instead of getting your special character like Khan or Araman, who comes complete with all their abilities and upgrades, instead you get to build it. So you have this basic Primarch stat line to start with, the Primarch rule, Adamantium will, fleet, fearless, all that kind of thing. So first choice on the road is our war gear options. Choose up to 2 of the following. Why? Because you can have 2 hand weapons. There's the old Paragon Blade, which is an AP2 weapon which always strikes at initiative, gives you +1 strength, and 6s to wound are instant death. The next option, slightly more expensive, is the Mastercrafted Chain Fist. 2d6 armor penetration, that's pretty cool. But otherwise it's just a power fist. Why not just a power fist? Well, I want to do something different. Mastercrafted Power Maul with Armor Bane and AP2. Now, the thing is, it's covering off the same ground that the Chain Fist does, and it's not unwieldy. But I thought it should cost more points for that. And because a Power Maul is not a specialist weapon, you can't pair it up with the Paragon Blade or the Chain Fist if you want those options. So essentially, you either take the Power Maul and get your bonus attack that way by combining it with a pistol, or you take the Paragon Blade and the Fist together, some kind of combination. But essentially the Mastercrafted Power Maul is probably the best weapon here, because it gives you anti-vehicle, and it's AP2, and it's concussive, being a maul. There is also the Lightning Core with Rending and AP2. Now, a big thing across the Heresy is all Primarchs have an AP2 weapon of some kind. The Lightning Core with Rending is an AP2 is pretty low down the list. The Rending is just there for a little bit of anti-vehicle assist for the Primarch, and the AP2 is there for all your infantry killing goodness. Next are the stat upgrades. You get to pick any combination of up to 3 of the following: weapon skill, ballistic skill, strength, toughness, initiative, wound, attack, and Psyker mastery level. Now here's the thing, you get to pick any combination of these. You can stack up to 3 levels of psychic mastery. You can add an attack, add a wound, whatever, but you can't do it all. This profile up the top here, the old Lehman Russ profile that I modified, you can make it a level 3 Psyker, but that's the profile you're stuck with. You can make him someone who has 7 attacks base, but all the other profile will be the same. So you have to sort of choose wisely. What are you going to use? Are you going to go for the extra attacks? Are you going to go for the strength, the ballistic skill? Maybe something well-rounded. Extra strength, extra toughness, extra wound. Would make it a very tanky Primarch. So those are all valid options. Up to you. Mix and match, whatever you like. Next are the ranged war gear options. You get to choose any 2 of the following, and you don't need to take any if you don't want. Save some points. Mastercrafted Archaeotech pistol, Mastercrafted plasma pistol with Sunder, which is get to roll that extra d6 for armor pen, but it's only for that one weapon. Mastercrafted Inferno pistol, Mastercrafted bolt gun, which is AP4 and Rending, and because it's a Primarch using it, counts as a pistol. Lastly, a Mastercrafted Flamer with AP4. So, slight improvement, but it's not going to melt power armor. Down the bottom, we have the optional war gear. Choose as many or few of them as you like, and I'd like to add more down the way. They're not really war gear though, so I need to reword this, but I mean, I wrote this in like 15 minutes, and that's more effort than a Chaos Codex for Games Workshop, so Jump Pack. And that's if you're not wearing Terminator armor. Infravision, so that gives you night vision. And Cause Fear, only 5 points. I thought I'd just throw that one in for the lulz. In fact, being a Primarch, it already causes it. I meant to write something in there about +1 to fear, but fuck it. So, I will work on this sheet later and fix all that up for those who are wondering. In the armor, you get to pick from 3 types. Power armor that you come with, which gives you a 2+ save and no invul. Artificer armor with an iron halo, extra 15 points, you get a 4+ invul. Or Terminator armor with a 3+ invulnerable, which is the best you can get as a Primarch, but you will count as extra bulky. So, there's a penalty there. As for the Sire of the Legion, so what I've done here is create 4 different special rules. There are typos and that kind of thing, because again, this is like the initial version of this. It's not playtested, anything like that, you know. So again, pretty much like a Games Workshop Codex. I'll release the first FAQ like 20 minutes from now, and then I'll release another FAQ 20 minutes after that, and then I'll release the index and then the chapter approved 20 minutes after that. Hearts and Minds. The Primarch is particularly astute and natural leader. Is a particularly astute. See, I'm already picking up the mistakes. All models from the primary detachment are fearless when within 12 inches of the Primarch. They also gain +1 to all combat resolutions. This includes the Primarch themselves. So that's a very middle of the road sort of one, where it's just a sort of very mild passive buff. Whereas the next one along, the Lord of Pestilence. The Primarch uses brutal and unsanctioned weaponry, such as radiation, toxin, graviton, or conversion in form. This possibly led to their downfall. I need to read the word that as well. And this is the beauty of talking things through, right? You get to see all the little typos and mistakes I made. But this is how I work out rules. All infantry and walkers in the primary detachment may count bolt pistols, bolt guns, and heavy bolters as poisoned 4+, and hand flamers, flamers, and heavy flamers as poisoned 3+. All template weapons gain the Shred special rule, and, however, if this is selected, you may choose which units do and don't use poisoned weapons. However, all units which do have them count as destroyed at the end of the game. So I need to work with the wording a little bit. But essentially what it's saying is, say I've got 5 tactical squads in my army. 3 of them I decide they're going to use the poison bolt guns, 2 of them are not. At the end of the game, no matter what happens, those 3 count as destroyed. For the purposes of special rules like attrition, that's going to hurt. If it's something like, say, a super heavy tank, and you go, well, it's got a template weapon, I'm going to give my Typhon Shred, and your Typhon survives the match, well, it still counts as destroyed anyway, so the other guy gets the price of failure victory point off you. And in some missions, super heavies are worth a lot of victory points. So I may make a limitation on that Shred can't be... It only applies to the infantry and walker... Well, it should only apply to infantry and walker weapons, but the way I've set it, all template weapons gain the Shred special rule, does sound like it could work for vehicles and tanks, super heavy tanks. I do need to reword that. Paragon of Excellence. The Primarch embodies all that it is to be a son of the Emperor. All models from the primary detachment within 12 inches of the Primarch gain the Stubborn rule, and all reserve rolls may be re-rolled. This is like the old Marnius Calgar rule, and it can be handy. Maybe you want your reserve to stay off, maybe you want it to come back on. The choice is up to you. Strategic Mind. The Primarch is a grand strategist, using every trick and tactic to their full advantage. The Primarch allows up to D6 units, determined when rolling Warlord traits, which would normally be in reserves until turn 2, to instead automatically come on in turn 1. You may roll a D6 for each unit, well, you have to, roll a D6 for each unit deployed in this way on arrival. On a roll of a 1, all enemy units within line of sight gain the Interceptor special rule, as they've seen your unit coming. Even if it's a fucking drop pod, I don't care. Again, I'm just playing around with this. This is the first version of this. I only knocked it up in about 15 minutes after work. But I did this entirely for this Alexis person, he or she. Because why not? Why not? If you're playing with your circle of friends or playing a narrative game, maybe you're playing a narrative Great Crusade, where everyone gets to pick a legion and they fight against orcs and Eldar and that kind of thing. Or maybe they're doing a campaign based around killing the 2nd and 11th legions. I don't know. So, here's the generic Primarch. It's far from perfect. I pointed out a heap of typos in it as I went along. But it's the basis. I can go back now and I can refine it, reword it, maybe playtest it. The idea is just to give people a rough guide to their Primarch. You can make something that's just over 300 points and quite strong. Like for 290 points with a power maul, and then maybe that extra attack, wound, extra strength. You know, be striking at strength 9 with that maul at initiative. That's pretty fucking brutal. So you can create a strong Primarch, but they're not probably going to be as strong as the other named Primarchs are. So there is that. And they do buff their Legion. The Sire of the Legion acts more like a Rite of War than the typical Sire of the Legions. But hey, it's something. It's something they otherwise would not have. Anyway, thoughts and feedback in the comments below. Let me know what you think. Is it a good idea that I did this? Bad idea? Pick your favourite typo. I don't really care. Let me know your thoughts, and I'll see you all next time.